Hi, Affar. It's been a very long time since we spoke to each other. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me well? All right, great. Um, we have had several closings. We have worked with complex estate issues as well. We've
Yes.
had landlord-tenant problems on some transactions, as you know, and have had to do. I know on one of the transactions we worked on, we had a landlord-tenant issue as well. And today we're going to be touching on estate sales.
Okay.
And so, I know that you also set up trusts, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, what is a trust? So some of our clients, our mutual clients, and my database can hear about the importance of it and what a trust is.
Okay. So, so the two parts of my practice is real estate, as you know. I've been doing that for about 22 years, and for the last several years, we've been doing trust and estates, all right? Because basically, it's not automatic when all my clients buy a property, right? It's not automatic that it goes to their family, right? To their spouse and to their children. So they need some kind of instrument, right? So a person can either die intestate without a will or a trust, die with a will, or die with a trust. And the reason this trust is like a contract, almost like another entity, like an LLC, that's able to take the property from your estate, take it out of the estate, so that the surrogate's court doesn't have any jurisdiction over your property. So what does that really mean, right? So if you die, the law creates an estate, right, which then has to go to go to the surrogate's court, and they decide who should get it. This trust serves four purposes, right? So this entity um, makes or allows the beneficiaries to not have to go to court, right? So it's a document that says, hey, you know what? It's not part of the estate. Surrogate's court has no jurisdiction. They don't want the jurisdiction, and you get to give it the way that you'd like. So it has that component of a will. But so the first benefit is that the beneficiaries do not have to go to court. Okay, that saves 6 to 9 months in most counties. Now, if you're in Brooklyn and Bronx, you really, really need this trust because it takes 2 to 2.5 years to get the property in your name if you were to die with a
And a year and a half in Nassau County right now.
you have that in Nassau County, yeah. So normally it's 6 to 9, but if there's any kind of conflict, you're adding like 3 to 5 years, right? But on a regular, uncontested surrogate application for Brooklyn and Bronx, it takes 2 to 2.5 years. That means your house stays there. You're paying mortgages, not collecting rent because the tenants know the law better than us, and they are saying, "Listen, you don't have any right to collect the rent from me," and they'll stay there. So yes, that's a huge, huge benefit is time and stress. Okay, it's avoided with the trust. Second benefit is there is a seamless transition of ownership. So no, the beneficiaries do not have to spend any money to pay for this property to come into their name. So as an example, to analogize, a husband and wife, they own a property, right? If the surviving spouse doesn't have to go to court, right, to get the property in her name, by operation of law, the spouse inherits the entire percentage, right? Same thing with this trust. It's a seamless transition of ownership, so the children own it upon the second spouse passing away, right? Second parent passing away, right? So they're saving $8 to $15,000. So when the parent pays for the trust, they get the benefit. Okay. Third benefit, they get a thing called stepped up basis. Okay, you've probably heard of that terminology, right? So basically, and there are many people who bought their properties 20, 30 years ago. Let's say they bought it for 250, 500,000, but now it's worth $1 million. Okay,
Mm,
there's going to be a significant capital gains tax to the beneficiaries when they sell, not when they inherit it, but when they sell.
right.
So to save about $100,000 in capital gains tax, you do this trust. So the IRS allows the beneficiaries to get the fair market value of the property at the time of death, not when they bought it.
That's huge. I mean,
There's a
how
huge benefit,
huge
right?
benefit,
Right?
huge benefit.
Fourth, which you're gonna love. I think you have
Yes.
kids. You have some kids, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have when you have children, when they get the property, unfortunately, 60% of all marriages end in divorce. So what we do is that I prepare this trust and I add a sub trust. It's an asset protection trust for your children. So in the event they get divorced, they don't lose the property. And I know you and your husband work very hard, to try to pay these houses off. And it really sucks that you have to, it's really disappointing that when you give it to your kids, yes, you're not around, right? But they lose half of it to divorce when it's not necessary. So what
Mm,
I'm telling like yourself and I'm telling other people is that, we need to avail ourselves of the law, right? The
yes.
law is there, all right? It's there. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to waste money, right? Paying all those legal fees. You don't have to pay unnecessary capital gains tax. You don't have to lose the money, you lose your property, half of your property to divorce, right? The law is there to protect you. But if a person just says, "Oh, I'll kick the can down the street," as they say, "I'll worry about it tomorrow," then, as I just told you before I got on the air with you, is that I just got a client that just passed away, and now they're stuck, going to court, making an
You
application.
and I can probably share thousands of stories.
Yeah.
I do I help people clean up their estate, things their parents have left behind, and you're 100% right. Anytime that the estate was left without a trust having been formed, there's a mess for them to clean up.
Is a
Because I
mess.
think the trust also does a few other things, from my understanding, and educate me if I'm wrong, is also decides the executors if they want to assign a specific person. Doesn't
Well,
it?
it assigns trustees, yes.
Yes.
It does also a portable. We do other documents such as a portable will, designation of remains of power of attorney, and healthcare proxy. But as far as a trust goes, yeah, there are other benefits. One is that it's very private.
Yes.
So if you have nosy family members and they want, they can always go online if you have a will. With the trust, it's private. If you have an estate that is more than $7 million, that's problematic because now New York has a thing called a cliff. So for estate tax purposes, so there's several taxes. One is the federal estate tax. One is the New York estate tax, inheritance tax, but thank God New York doesn't have that, which but it does apply in other states. Then there's capital gains tax. All right. So again, this trust addresses these things. So an estate is more than 7 million, we do what's called a credit shelter trust. We split the estate in half, and on paper, we take 7 million, we put it in the first trust, credit shelter trust A. Then we'll take the other $7 million, and now no estate tax is done. And what is that tax savings? Starts at 900,000. 900,000. So it goes from 0 to 900, just like that. So
So important
again,
to have an expert, right by your side. Not having someone who has this kind of knowledge by your side,
yeah,
people make such terrible financial decisions.
yeah,
This is
yeah, yeah.
so key. Thank you. Now, in your experience, let's say someone did not have a trust and their parents have passed and now left them with no trust,
Yeah.
no will. Can you just walk us through what's the first thing they should do if they're in
Well,
Queens
the
and
the problem,
Brooklyn, Manhattan? Hmm.
yep. So the problem that they have is though they obviously they're going to start spending some money on attorney's fees. Right? They have to make an application, have to contact an attorney to make an application to the surrogates court for an intestate proceeding. And one of the horrible things when you die without a will is that you don't get the stepped up basis. So the one benefit of the will is that you get stepped up basis, right? You get the fair market value at the time of death. If a person dies without a will or a trust, they don't get it. So they end up paying 100,000. Yeah, they usually end up paying $100,000 or more in capital gains tax, right? So yeah, it's a court proceeding, a bunch of complaint, petition, and you got to give notices to all the potential heirs. I mean, it's nasty. I mean,
It's
it's really
nasty.
a long
Thank you.
process.
Thank you so much. This was so valuable. Just for people to know before, if they're dealing with any health issue, to organize themselves and have a trust, or even if they're not, if you have assets that you want to protect. Yes.
So there's this conception, I think misconception, that only rich people need trust. It's for the person who has one house, right? Because
Mm,
you have to get it to your child, right? You
of
have to,
course.
right? If not, it goes to the state if nobody claims it, right? So, and there are other types of trusts, and I'm glad you touched upon that. There's a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. So a person could be worth a couple $1 million. But if you can put it into a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, they could still get nursing home care. This is a 5-year look back period. So you can put the house into a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. and then wait 5 years and then apply for a nursing home and get nursing home care. And there won't be any estate covering. Let's say you didn't have the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust and you went for that type of care, nursing home care, or let's say you're doing long-term care, right, which is like home care,
Yeah.
right? They will go back to the estate. So this is a way to prevent
I've
Medicaid
seen
to
it.
start.
I've seen it more times than you
Yeah.
think, right?
So
Yeah.
so instead of them going after the estate, basically, the debt gets wiped out, and children still get the property, which is amazing, right? So you get to cake and eat it. Again, if you avail yourself of the law. And another topic that happens a lot is, dealing with children that are disabled or autistic or whatever, however you want to describe it, right?
Yeah.
So autistic children you're able to do what's called an S&T trust. It's called a Supplemental Needs Trust. And that will allow, it's like an asset protection trust for the children. And basically they'll be able to get their SSI, their disability benefits, and still be able to own the property. And then they will be able to give it to
And
whoever,
you
their
can do
brother and
all of
sister.
this. You can do all of this.
Yep.
You can provide all these
Yeah, yeah,
services.
yeah.
That's
100%.
fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely call you anytime. I've done some of my own trust work, but also any of my clients who I feel should get prepared.
Yes.
We'll definitely keep you in mind. I stopped the recording. I'm going to stop the recording.